Stick around to the end, I'm going to throw in a little bonus one with the Outer Worlds because, well, why not? Hello everyone and welcome back to SwitchUp and to the next episode where we take an old Switch 1 game, we run it through the ringer, check out the performance, the frame rates, we have a look at how it used to run and then we see how it runs now on Nintendo Switch 2. We do have a Nintendo Switch 2 to give away, courtesy of one subscriber on the channel. He's actually given away, I think, 3 Nintendo Switch OLEDs over the lifespan of the channel. Mr. Fetcook, you can verify down in the comments so people know it's not bogus. That's one of our subscribers, by the way. I'm not just randomly saying weird South African foods. We will announce the winner of this Switch 2 in a community post within a week or two. But yeah, tickle all the buttons, leave comments and all that stuff. All right, how does the Saints Row series run on Switch 2? Well, my name's Mark Walker. Welcome back to SwitchUp. Now let's find out. So when Saints Row 3 originally came out on Switch, people were very excited. There was long talk about GTA finally coming to Switch and nothing materialized, and this was by far the closest we were going to get to that without Rockstar actually doing something. Sadly though, it showed us quite quickly how underpowered the hardware was compared to some of the contemporary platforms such as the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One X, and that was before the recent consoles released. Still, it was not a lazy port. The developers released a patch that included a dynamic resolution scaling option. If you tick this on, the game would scale the image to maintain performance, and during my review actually I did notice that it looked like at times the game actually started to go towards 60 frames per second. Those were very few and far between, but I'm sure I spotted them. That's what made me want to come back and test this, because that will show straight away if we look at Switch 2 footage. Now before we do that, if we jump over to Saints Row 4, the same could be seen. It had the same graphic options, clearly the same engine. Performance was alright, but every time there was a big explosion, volumetric effect, anything like that, any particles on screen, the frame rate could be brought below 30 frames per second. And so then we load the game on Switch 2. The keen-eyed amongst you will see straight away, what's that frame rate? That's 60 frames per second, isn't it? Let's run it through the software and yeah, it confirms that the game actually is able to hit 60, and not just hit it, it just sits at 60 frames per second. You will see a couple of drops here and there, but generally it's stuck to that frame rate. Now, the funny thing is, because the Switch 2 is so powerful, that dynamic resolution scaling option doesn't do anything anymore, because the frame rate never needs to drop, the visual quality is maintained, and you end up with a much sharper image whilst having 60 frames per second gameplay. Having just looked at GTA, actually Saints Row comes out much better. This performance is also accompanied by gyroscopic controls, and I mentioned in a previous video, it feels like the gyro is better. It's more likely that the improved performance has an effect on the perception of how gyro feels in these games. In fact, it's guaranteed. The higher the frames, the smoother, the easier it will be to control, and that's definitely the case here. It feels fantastic. The horsepower lets the game run at its max resolution all the time. This in turn means that everything looks sharp, textures look better. What we can't do though is increase graphical options, so you don't get improved lighting or anything along those lines. As we know, those things are tied to patchwork. The whole thing does still suffer from aliasing issues carried over from the original. Input latency feels much better, mainly due to the improvements to the frame rate. In Saints Row 4, things took on a slightly different style, with alien invasions, superhuman powers, and you had the ability to leap from building to building. It meant that when I originally played it, I was able to bring that frame rate tumbling down by doing a few key things. But I'm optimistic now. I'm actually starting to trust that the Switch 2 is genuinely that much more powerful, and frame rates also seem to show that. Here I could get it to drop a little bit from time to time, and there were a couple of frame pacing issues, very minor, but a real night and day difference in terms of performance. Now, just like Saints Row 3, this one has a dynamic scaling option. You may as well just switch it off, it's not going to do anything. 60's maintained, the max resolution the Switch 1 port can do is maintained, and that's really where its biggest weaknesses come from. The whole thing, both games, they're crying out for a 4K patch to let this show its real potential. And actually on PC, the game looked so much better because you could crank every dial to its max setting. Yes, it will look dated in comparison to any modern open world game, but it could look a lot better than it does right now. I think it was it Deep Silver that worked on this? They're the kind of developer that may release a patch. I don't know. Is it worth it for them? Probably not, but I really hope they do. So to summarize, you're going to get a significantly better performance. If you're playing these games on the Switch 2, they're also always on sale. So it's a great one to add to your wish list. It's just a more enjoyable game when you're playing it like this. While they are clearly still the Switch 1 ports, they look surprisingly good. Okay, that takes us on to the Outer Worlds then, the little bonus game I said I would put on the end, and it's been really quite comical to go back to this one. Now, as you know, when it first launched, it looked terrible. Here's how the game looked when it first came out. You run it on the Switch 2, and it's like the Switch 2, it's like it swallowed something it didn't want to eat. It really is. Load times are outrageous. My son now kind of sits with me and we do these videos together, and he counts them, bless him. He sat there counting load times, and he got to like 50 seconds on one of them, and I was like, look, just give up, mate. Honestly, it's so bad. And it's that first load when you've just booted the game up and you're loading that save for the first time. My goodness, the memory management is absolute trash. It takes ages to load up, and it still does on Switch 2. Frame rates, well, they are better. It can stick to 30 now, which is all right, except for look at it. It's just stark now, isn't it? How bad this game looks. I can kind of live with it, and I love the Outer Worlds. This is the Murder on, is it Iradenos DLC? Now, for those of us who went through 100 hours of the Outer Worlds on Switch, it does actually look a little bit better. It doesn't scale its terrible resolution, so that stays consistent. What it can't do is change the texture sizes. They must have just got the textures, like got a scrubbing brush out and washed them clean and then released that on the Switch. AKA, we get the lowest ever textures and now at a proper resolution. It looks bad. It just looks terrible. And those load times aren't good enough. Like, whatever was going on under the hood, there's some serious tweaking that needs to be done. And look, the Switch wasn't the only platform where this game had issues. This engine was so past its sell-by date, but they kept pumping out games in it, and it just shows. So hopefully, with whatever comes next, I'm sure we will get the Outer Worlds 2 on Switch 2, and that I am very excited about. It'll be great, won't it, to do a video like this and be like, yeah, it's running at 60. I mean, that's wishful. I think it'll be 30. But you know, 4K resolutions, nice visual effects. Please, come on, don't let me down. So that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I really do love making these. As I said in the previous one, it's like, I don't know, it's like therapy. It's like catharsis, finally getting to play these games at least proper frame rates. But not all of them behave as nicely as others. I think Saints Row, they're some of the best we've done so far. The Outer Worlds, yeah, not so much. Thank you to our Patreons, our members, all of you that enjoy our content. And as always, for all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Oh, and don't forget, we're giving away a Switch 2. So, well, you don't need to do anything different, really. See ya!